What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We promise not to disappoint you. Hit that like button, share the video, and make sure you leave a comment. I got a lieutenant on again today, right? He worked in SIS, he worked in the ADX, he worked in the USP Florence. He's seen a lot, he's been through a lot, but you know what? Tony can tell his story better than I can. Tony, tell the people who you are and where you're from and talk a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Tony Trapp. I worked at the USP in Florence for about 10 years. I worked at the ADX for 3 years, and then I just quit after that. I worked at USP Florence from 2002 until roughly 2011. And the ADX from 2011 to 2013 when I quit the Bureau.
Well, I want to talk about, some of the stuff that led to you, leaving and some of the things that you've seen, some of the things that you did. I mean, you weren't just a lieutenant over there. You also ran the CERT team and all that stuff, right?
For a little while, yeah, I did when I was a 11 lieutenant. But most of all, I was housing unit officer, compound officer, worked a lot of shoe. My proudest moments were working at the USP as an officer, for real.
Let's talk about that, man. What was it like when you walked into USP? Someone told you to go get a job over there? I mean, talk about that.
Well, I had worked in a state prison before for a couple of years. And one of the guys that I worked with in the state prison used to work at USP Leavenworth. And at the time, it was 1999. I asked him, what federal prison would be good to start at, to work at, so I could use my military time count towards the years of eligibility towards retirement. And at that time, Florence was probably 5 years old, so he told me to go there. And that's how I ended up going there. And he told me to go to the USP. He said he said you'll like it better. He was the high security guy, so that's what he wanted me to do. And so basically, that's what I just did. I didn't really know too much of a difference except for the security levels, but I didn't really have that big of an idea it was that different until I got there.
Makes a guy want to be a cop, man, in a prison, man? What do you think in your head? Are you like, yeah, I want to be a cop in a prison someday?
No, never want to be a cop ever. I really don't care for cops too much, but I don't think cops could work in a prison, honestly. I think a good person that works in prison has a good voice on them, has good intelligence, and treats people well, and can see when somebody is obviously, not in the right mind.
So you end up going over there. You're working at USP Florence. I know you're there during the riot, right? Do you remember the race riot they had over there?
Yeah, I was on, what was it, 4/20/08, I think, Hitler's birthday.
100%. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know a couple people get shot and killed. I know some white dudes come out and they pound out a white dude. I think they kill him or they almost kill him right after the riot because he didn't participate in the gym.
Gymnasium. So basically, the white guys supposedly were drinking and celebrating and were throwing racial epithets out there. The black guys didn't like it, obviously, and it just escalated. It was pretty much right on. If anyone's been to Florence, it was right in the outfield of the softball field. And they're just lining up and they would clash, man. Just like old school army swordsmen. They would just clash and then break up, clash, break up. And then rounds were being fired from the towers and, trying to get them to stop. We tried to, get them to stop with using percussion grenades and flashbangs and gas. And they just weren't stopping. Actually, the one guy, the black guy that got killed, he actually ran out of the kitchen to get into it. He was safe in the kitchen and he pushed the door open and got out.
You see these guys get shot on the yard?
Yeah, I was right there. There was about 14 of us there, right there.
What's it like when you see something like that? When you see the tower has to fire, they fire live rounds. What are you thinking at the moment?
I was thinking I was probably going to get shot. Honestly, I mean, shit was popping off everywhere. It was ricochets everywhere. But we just kind of stuck together, and I don't know, just we didn't let them come near us, and they just did their thing. And then whenever somebody was injured real bad, usually one of their own people would bring them up to like the tower, the middle tower, and then we'd carry them up to the lieutenant's corridor. And we just did that for a while until finally they just kind of stopped, and then we pushed the white guys. Must have been, I think we pushed them south, or was it north? I'm not sure. We pushed them towards the gymnasium, and we got all the white guys in the gym and locked them in there. And that's when they beat up a couple of their own that supposedly weren't participating.
So they get the white dudes. You guys get the white dudes in the gym, right? Are you guys coordinating on the radio, like, yo, push these dudes to the left, push them to the left?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. You know, it was chaos. Luckily, we had a very good old school lieutenant who had a lot of experience from Lompoc on duty that day. He pretty much saved it.
Your adrenaline pumping? Are you like hyped up? Are you nervous? Dude, are you scared?
Yeah, it was crazy. Everything, every emotion you could think of. But I mean, I wasn't. You know, it was kind of the way USP Florence is set up. The tower in the middle is kind of like outside of the lieutenant's patio door, so you're kind of a lot higher than the people on the yard. So really, like, I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't scared, but I wasn't like trying to get in the middle of the shit either. You know what I'm saying? I was staying out of harm's way pretty much.
I mean, you're a pretty big dude, but let me ask you this, right? Tell the people what they're doing. Are they throwing rocks? Are they stabbing each other? I mean,
stabbing, bats, rocks, sticks, anything they can get their hands on. All goes. And then all the Hispanic inmates were sitting over, like, they were sitting to the right of the whole melee. And so they were just watching it, but they were just sitting on the ground.
They're sitting on the ground. They're watching it. You're over there in the heat of things, but you don't want to get involved. You guys are like, what? Just let them go until they're done?
Pretty much. I mean, nobody was listening. We shot, I don't even know how many rounds were shot off. Easily over 500.
Ever think that, you know, I read an article about that, right? In the Prisoners Legal News. My boy, Brandon Sample, he's a former federal prisoner. He's a big shot defense lawyer now. But I remember him writing that article about that, and I'm reading that, and there was about 500 rounds shot off. I mean, these rounds are going off, and you would think, man, there's live rounds going, people are getting shot, and these guys still aren't stopping?
Right. It's hardcore, you know. That's the way they roll there. But a lot of the rounds were shot in no man's land, though, also.
So let me ask you this. When dudes do get shot and they get hit, they're hitting the ground. Do the dudes finally say, all right, man, this might be it?
Well, I know we had at least 3 bodies in the corridor that were shot or hurt. I'm pretty sure one of them was shot in the foot. I'm not sure what the other 2 were, if they were just like hurt badly. And then we had the white guy, the Kubiak was his name.
Was Kubiak, and the black guy, Hooker, right?
Hooker, the black guy. We had them up underneath the tower, just laying there dead. And these were still going at it.
You got 2 dead bodies. You got 2 dead bodies underneath the gun tower. You got 3 people shot in the hallway. I mean, is this like a war zone at the time?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
From a correctional officer or guard standpoint, does that mess you up mentally to see people get killed or no?
I mean, it did mess me up a little bit. I've seen a few people killed, so it wasn't the first time I'd seen someone killed, but yeah, I can still see it, you know, see their faces and stuff. And you can see how they're like, it's weird. Like, if you ever seen someone get killed, they turn gray. Like, it's just the weirdest thing, I think, anyways. But
I think the same thing.
Goes on, they just become gray, like gray. It's weird. I don't know.
I think the same thing. I think the life just gets sucked out of them. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Let's
And that's
talk.
one thing that kind of irritates me about the Bureau is that, as far as I know, at least when I was working there, they never ever had you talk to anybody after some serious incident, or if say you got assaulted, they never ever had you, cleared to come back to work or nothing. It was just like, whatever, game on, the day as usual, let's roll.
No, yeah, I mean that's absolutely ridiculous. Let me ask you this though: these dudes get the white dudes in the gym, right? And I know that there's a video out there on YouTube or whatever, where the dudes actually they show the dude pounding the dude out in the gym. They're beating the shit out of him. They walk away. They come back. They kick him in the face a few more times with the boots on.
I
They
think it
walk
was a
away.
couple
They come
sack
back.
guys.
Yeah, well,
I think one of the guys was a sack guy.
what's your perspective on white gang members, bro? I mean, are they viciously violent? People like the sack dudes?
Sack is no joke. I will say that when they first pulled up to Florence, I was very surprised. They took me by surprise. At first, I didn't think much of them because, I was used to Mexican mafia and the Serenos. They're hard, as hard as you get. You know what I'm saying? How do you get any harder than that? But as far as craziness goes, yeah, them sack guys are just, I don't know how you could ever feel comfortable being one, because you'd probably get turned on. I don't know. I knew Tracy Sweeney. I talked to him a bunch of times. He was over at the pen and he was at the ADX. Tin Man. He was always decent to me, respectful. But apparently he can run an organization. I don't know.
He actually wrote me an email after I did a little story, so you don't know shit about us. He got mad at me or whatever. But in your perspective, right? Like, I give them sack dudes their props because, like you said, they handle their business, man. They're violent. To me, they were the toughest white prison gang as far as gangs go in prison, at least to me. I mean, I wasn't around for all the AB stuff. I mean, you get out in the yard and there's like 2 ABs and 10 sack dudes. So the sack dudes were always more violent, more about their business to me. What's your perspective?
We had the DWB, we had ARM, we had SAC. DWB was kind of crazy sometimes, but they were nothing like SAC. SAC was just, they're the hardest, I think. Definitely. And there was a guy named, I think his nickname was Shotgun. I mean, this dude would pound people every week. It's just crazy. He was just pulling freaking missiles duty every week, just trashing people. Like, what the fuck? Crazy.
Let me ask you this. You're a white dude. You're all tatted up. You're bald-headed, big dude. You ever feel like them dudes tried to, like, kick it with you, man, thinking, like, man, this dude's an all right dude because you were white and you had tattoos? What was your perspective on that?
Nah. In prison, cops are cops. Nobody's trying to mess with the cops, you know what I'm saying? And I always kept it professional. I wasn't ever trying to get it to the point where people would, hey, bring me in this or bring me in that or do this for me. I always tried to just do my job and go home, pretty much.
That's the one thing that, I see about cops and guards in prison, right? It's like they're not attached emotionally or anything. It's just, hey, man, it's a job. But I think if I worked there and I seen some of the shit that I seen, I think there'd be times when I probably, even as a prisoner, right, a hardened criminal, I used to feel bad for some dudes when I'd see them get massacred. Like, damn, man,
that
dude was an
me
all
too.
right dude.
I at my first 5 years, I didn't give a shit. After that, I actually was like, wow, what the fuck, dude? This is crazy. How can people get treated like this? And I haven't worked there since 2012, and I can remember hundreds of people's names, their faces, everything. It's crazy.
Hey, listen, man, I think prison affects all of us, man, in all kinds of ways.
For sure.
Right? I want to ask you, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say the people that are the best at prison work are lazy people who don't care about anything. They make the best guards because they just don't give a shit. Nothing bothers them. They could see a guy get his eyes poked out right in front of them, and they'd go home and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the way, smoke a couple cigarettes. and not give a fuck. And there were some of those guys, but it definitely wasn't me. It definitely affected me.
I want to talk. We're going to get into that in a minute, man, about why you left and quit and all that stuff. But I know a lot of people are listening right now, and they're like, "Damn, this dude was an SIS lieutenant." Let's talk a little bit about that, man. How that stuff works, right? You ever get guys in the penitentiary come to you and be like, "Look, man, this is what's going to happen," or I need some stamps. Let's keep it real, man. You're not there. Let's keep it real. You're not working there anymore. Tell us about it.
All right. Well, yeah, there are those people. Depends on, honestly, when I got most of my intel, it wasn't when I was a lieutenant. It was when I was an officer. And I had my little crew of dudes that I had hired. And basically, I would tell them, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. But every once in a while, when something fucked up was going to happen or whatever, they would say something. But not that often. But people do, say stuff. But I would never use it to my advantage, or I would never ever tell anybody else, just because I wouldn't want to put that person in jeopardy. You know what I'm saying? Because he's looking out for me, giving me the intel. I'm not going to go tell somebody else. I don't care. I know that's all that matters. That's how I work.
Let's give the people an example. Like one time, I know we talked briefly before we got on here. One time the Bloods are getting ready to do something. You get a little intel, you end up leaving, you take off. That's the type of thing that you're talking about, right? Tell the people about that.
Well, at that time I was working a graveyard, and I was working a block. And I knew I had been around there for about 5 years probably. So I knew most of the inmates there. And whenever I worked a unit, I always wrote out a sheet of paper, and I would make copies of it, and I'd lay it out on the horseshoes. Do they have horseshoes when you were in there? Those dumb fucking things. I'll never understand it. That was actually where the officers used to sit.
Oh, I know.
They didn't have an office. But anyways, so I'd post those things up, and I would tell the inmates my expectations. No laundry on the rails, no boots out on the whatever, beds made, rooms clean. And then I would also go and tell them, the shot callers, I said, listen, I am not trying to do a bunch of work in here. I'm not trying to pack a bunch of property, do a bunch of bullshit. I'm here at graveyard. I'm tired. I want to go home. So please don't start nothing in here if you can help it until after I'm gone. And they would always say, bet, cool, got you. So one day, the Bloods, I popped them open at 6, and I could tell the Bloods are just, I don't even know what they're doing. They're just freaking out, going crazy, running around all over the place, out the door, out the front. And I told the big homie, I said, man, you got to wait till I go, man. I'm not trying to pack all this property, dude. And he's like, all right, whatever. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not, but then I called the lieutenant and was like, hey, you might want to send some people down to the unit. We're probably going to have a knife fight down here. Oh, no, man. They're just old, crusty lieutenant. He didn't care. So I get relieved about 7:45. I give the dude my keys, and I bounce, man. I'm in the last set of doors before the parking lot. And the warden just was happening to come down from his office to, I don't know, drink coffee or whatever he was doing. And he was like, what are you in such a hurry for? I said, oh, sir, there's about to be a fight in Bravo B. And as soon as I said that, I swear to God, they called it over the radio. Fight in Bravo B, weapons involved. So those dudes actually did me all right, man. They let me get out of there without having to do too much work.
Is that one thing that cops hate doing in there, is having to pack property?
I did. Just because you have so much shit that's not on that property sheet. I mean, and do you really want to throw all that person's stuff away? I don't.
I do want to take you back to the SIS thing, because, people are watching, they want to know. When people are working SIS, I mean, are they back there listening to phone calls? What does SIS really want? What are they looking for? Are they looking to stop the violence? Do they want to catch drugs? Do they really give a shit about the violence? Do they care about people getting killed? That's what the people want to know.
Well, I mean, you have You have obviously you have the telephone monitors. You know that everybody monitors telephone calls. You have at different institutions like the ADX, you have people that are charged with certain STG groups mail. Like they'll read all the mail for the Texas Mexiconomy, or someone will read all the mail from the Mexican mafia, or such other people. Like maybe someone was assigned to Kaczynski or something like that. There was quite a few people that worked in it. The mail was a big thing. They made a huge thing out of the mail. But like at the ADX, it's really a lot of it is just doing like little investigations, because the inmates are always writing BP8s and 9s, saying the guards do this and do that, and it's all a bunch of bullshit, really. If you're a solid convict, no guard's gonna fuck with you. At least I never saw anything like that.
Working in the ADX, you ever talk to Ted Kaczynski or any of them people?
Nah, I used to do rounds past them. I never talked to them though. I usually would talk to people that I knew from the USP that had been at the USP and then went over to the ADX.
Sometimes some dudes are just looking for conversation, huh? Like, damn, man, they want to talk to someone.
Yeah, like a couple Nazi lowrider dudes. I knew them pretty good. A couple Mexican mafia dudes. Just some other people that were there.
So now, I know you've seen some crazy shit in there, right? What's one of the craziest things you ever seen happen?
Man, there's so much stuff. Like, well, have you ever heard of I never saw this, but have you ever heard of the Sablons?
No.
Rudy and something Sablon. They are down in the shoe in the USP Florence, and they eviscerated their cellie. They took his intestines out and they ate his liver.
Oh yeah, I remember reading something about that. Absolutely disgusting.
Joey Estrella, I think was his name. That's one of the grossest things that I've probably ever heard of. But always the grossest thing is the guts to me, dude. When people's guts are hanging out, it seems like whenever anybody gets stabbed in the guts, their guts are always hanging out. But I also didn't like when people get their heads stomped on and their melon would like blow up like a balloon. To me, that was just horrible. And the worst thing that I always hated was every time a dude had a punctured lung, whenever they would stuff that tube through their ribs at the hospital. That shit was terrible. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I did actually. My cellie, Aaron Pike. Let me ask you this, right? When you see things like that, do you feel bad? Are you ever sitting in the hospital with a dude? He's like, "Damn, bro, I'm glad I didn't die." You ever talk to dudes when you're on like hospital duty?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an asshole. I mean, shit. People are human, you know. I mean, I wasn't there to punish you or whatever. I'm just there to keep you there. That's it. It wasn't my job to sentence you to anything. You got your sentence. I'm just there to try to make sure that you go home alive, basically.
There's some cops that don't work the same way that you do, right? I mean, some cops are just nasty motherfuckers, bro.
Yeah, for sure. No question. And I didn't fuck with them. I was very specific on who I fucked with and who I hung around with.
Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Like, I mean, is there certain cops who are like, man, this dude's like a super cop over here. Like, this dude's an asshole. He's creating, problems for us, creating more work for us. You ever have cops like that?
Yeah, I almost got stabbed because of one when I had less than a year in.
Let's talk about that. What happened? How did you almost get stabbed?
Well, you know how I'm not sure how big Sandy is, but is that the only pen you've been at? No, you've been at USP Lee, Big Sandy. Where
I've
else?
been USP Lee, I've been USP Lee, USP Big Sandy, USP Pollock, and USP Colma.
Okay, so all those are double deckers, right? Okay, so Florence is just single, right? But I'm sure they're the same, built the same, where you have the crossover with the case managers and all that shit in the middle. Okay, yep. So I was working one side, and this other guy was working the other side. And all of a sudden, I hear this, on the radio, staff needs assistance. You could hear the dude getting like I don't know. It sounded to me like he's getting fucked up. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go help this dude because there's nobody around here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just me and him. I mean, I don't care what, but if I leave my unit and the inmates do something to each other, well, that's their own problem. But I'm gonna try to save this dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got to. You know, I wouldn't want someone to do that for me.
So you go over there. What's going on? I mean,
So
you almost.
I made the choice to fucking bail and go through the crossover and get over there. And when I get in there, him and this dude has his knife, and he's this guy. I guess he's already stabbed him about, I don't know, maybe 10 times, like 5 times in the head. But he was wearing a hat, so when he was coming down on him, it wasn't really a great knife. And he got him in the arm a bunch of times. But you know, it's always funny because, like, I always say I can always teach any self-defense class after that happened to me, because the easiest, I can teach it in 1 second. Do whatever you got to do to survive. That's self-defense. Because I always have these plans of like, yeah, man, if someone comes at me, I'm gonna throw a 2-piece and kick him right in the fucking groin, and yeah, I'm gonna knock off their block. Man, that shit goes out the window when people are running at you with knives. Let me tell you. So anyways, I yell at the dude. I'm like, hey. So he takes his attention off the other guy and comes at me. So now I'm like, oh, man. So I'm like backing up to where that crossover door is, you know? And he's coming at me. So I remember telling myself, I'm like, man, you're probably going to get poked a couple of times. You know, just try to get that knife. Try to get that knife. And I was lucky, and I was able to grab. He had it in his, I think he was left-handed. So he was coming at me, and he had it in his left hand. And I think I grabbed it with my right hand. And then I got him on the ground. I did like a little hip throw, got him on the ground. And I just held on for dear life. And then people came over and wrecked him with a flashlight. And I took the brunt of it too. Those big-ass metal flashlights. They were pounding me with the dude.
That's crazy. So you end up quitting, man, right? We're probably gonna do a part 2, me and you. There's a lot to talk about, but you end up quitting the bureau. Tell the people why you quit, man.
You know, man, talk about a depressing job, a place, seeing people down and out all the time that are just miserable, hating life. There's no fucking hope for them. Especially in USPs, majority of the people have life sentences. There's no parole. I mean, it's just bullshit. I mean, I don't know. It's not. When I first started there, it wasn't that bad because the yard was open, and when we do a 10-minute move or whatever every hour, you could go outside and be outside all day and play basketball, and you could really do whatever you wanted to do. You know what I mean? You could go to the law library. You could go to rec. You could work in Unicor. It wasn't that bad in like 2001, 2002. But once they separated those yards with the fences and they had controlled movement, it was like you couldn't go anywhere or do anything. I don't know how inmates could handle it. I just didn't really like the way it went, and I didn't really like that. You know, everything was about money, but at the same time, why couldn't they bring back parole and spend money on that and give people jobs to do that job and then get people out of prison? That's what I didn't get.
That's because they don't give a shit. Do you think working in there destroyed you mentally and emotionally, and you just had enough and didn't want to see that shit no more, and you just quit?
No question. I absolutely drained every drop of emotion for people in 13 years out of my body. I have nothing left to give to anybody. It's all been sucked out of me.
So do you think now that
think about this, when you're around 128 people a day just in a unit, how much energy are they taking from you every day? CO, I need this. CO, I need this. CO, I gotta get trash. CO, I need toilet paper. CO, it's just fucking constant, non-stop, you know? Which, you know, you can't blame them, dude. I mean, hell, if you need something, who's going to get it for them? You got to get it for them. They can't get it.
If you'd have stayed in the bureau, you think you'd have been a warden by now?
It's hard to say. I always tended to get into a little bit of trouble. So with outside influences.
Well,
so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I have a few people that I know. I don't talk to anybody in the Bureau of Prisons at this point in my life. But I do know.
You ever look stuff up to see what's going on in there?
No, I really don't. Honestly, your show is the only show that I've really ever paid any attention to in the last 10 years. And this is because you are a very smart person and you see both sides of the spectrum. And it's pretty freaking cool if you think about this, that me and you can sit here and we can rap about this when we're on total different sides of the fence. But you know what I'm saying? But I know that, like I said, I knew people that I didn't think belonged in there. It's crazy. There are people that do not belong in prison, and there are people that are wrongly convicted. So people that don't think that, the people that think everybody belongs in prison are completely wrong, because that's not true.
Have you seen dudes in there that you think deserve a second chance?
Oh God, yes, tons of them. 68-year-old men, 75-year-old men, 19-year-old kids. Dude, there was a guy there who was probably like 78 years old when I started, at least. He might have been 80. And he was so fucking institutionalized that he would not come even out of his room until you open the door for him. Yeah, like, I'm glad that everything worked out for you, because I know that you're a productive citizen. I know that you will be a great dad just by talking to you. I can tell that you're that type of person. And there's lots of people like that are in prison.
I say it all the time. There's dudes in there that didn't get a second chance, but I did, and these dudes deserve it more than I did. But I definitely, man, that's what my focus is, bro. Being a husband, being a father, being a good husband, man, and being a good father, and making sure my kids don't go down that cycle. You know, my father was a drug addict. My father was in prison, and I'm definitely stopping that cycle with me, man. Like, that's what's important to me.
And I mean, I've been in jail before too, not for a long time, but for a weekend, and I've been treated like garbage too, where I couldn't get any water. I asked the guy 10 times for water, and he would just tell me to fuck off. So I know what it's like.
Was that after the bureau?
No, it was during.
Arrested while you worked there?
Yeah, while I was working I got into a little car accident, and I had a little too much vodka.
Didn't try to fire you or nothing?
I got disciplined, and it definitely put a damper on me getting promoted. I was blackballed for probably about 8 years.
Wow. So listen, I'm going to get ready to close the show. We're probably going to do a part 2. I mean, people that have been watching the channel, they know, man, I'm sick, man. I'm not feeling good. But I definitely wanted to get this interview because I know people want to hear it. You know, I appreciate you coming on the show. I think me and you are going to kick it a lot more, man. I think you're a good dude. I like the hell out of you, man. And, dude, I want all good things for you, too. And I know things haven't been easy for you. I know that there's been times where you just felt like, man, you wanted to give up. But, you know, if you want to get into that on a part 2, we can do that, too, man, about how the Bureau affected you to the point where you're like, man, forget this. But, dude.
Yeah, no, I'll gladly tell my story. I mean, I've been gravely affected by PTSD and depression and anxiety from the prison. No questions.
Definitely do that on a part 2, bro. So just so the viewers know, man, like, something's going on with my technology. I got to get my wife to fix it. But it's going to shut down on us in 1 minute. So I'm going to tell people we got a part 2 coming very soon. I'll try to line it up this week. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video. We're going to get into more of, you know, this brother's story. We're going to get into more of the SIS stuff because people want to hear that stuff. They want to know how that stuff works. Not so we can get over on the cops and trick them, because most people watching the show ain't going back to prison. But anyway, man, Blood on the Razor Wire TV, I appreciate you coming on. With respect, until tomorrow.
Respect.
We're out.